It's not safe anywhere. Mozambique cyclone scattered lives. Buzi, Mozambique. We didn't know his name or even see his face. But amid the grim sea, he skipped down the muddy street in Buzi to music only he could hear, oblivious to the suffering around him, at least for a while. He was barefoot and, like many children in the wake of Cyclone Ide in Mozambique, he was alone. But he was almost certainly headed to a makeshift shelter or the concrete floor of a school, now crammed with wet laundry, cooking fires, and displaced people. Life there was perilous. At one school, hundreds of thousands of uprooted lives, many of them children, have been scattered by the storm that roared in on March 14. Homes were washed away. Survivors described opening the doors of their homes to water that reached their necks. They raced to gather there they stayed, sometimes for days. They drank the water. On one rooftop a woman gave birth. The baby lived. Finally, in some cases, a helicopter appeared. It dropped biscuit. Some families were ripped apart as women or children, or the injured, were whisked away. What remains, more than 2 weeks after the cyclone made landfall, is a sodden landscape of disconnectedness and grief. Phones barely ring or ping, if at all. Internet service in flashes of hope, people have scouted out the highest points on the flat landscape, waving cell phones in the air. A 3-story building in Buzi, a highway overpass. Those who couldn't find a signal were despondent over the chances of finding missing loved ones. Officials who are pressed for estimates of the number of missing people don't even try. Even the death toll, the numbers offered by humanitarian agencies have become a blur. Some one point in the port city of Beira, fishing boats pulled up one by one on the beach, carrying survivors ashore from Buzi and other places. Children huddled, damp and bewildered, until 8 workers drove them away in the back of a pickup truck. They were destined for. Conditions in the camps are often squalid, with little clean water, sanitation, or medical supplies. A cholera outbreak. Amid the chaos, families still search for children, parents, spouses, often in vain. Some survivors stood on the beach in Beira and watched the fishing boats arrive, looking for a familiar face in the crowd. Zacharias Mauta stood alone. He had come from Buzi. He wants to reunite with his family, including 4 children under the age of 6. He hopes they were Maybe he will find an acquaintance who knows their fate. Maybe he will find. The cyclone taught him this, he said. Follow Africa News at https://twitter.com/apafrica. Search for location/city.
Raindrops, truck top, top smoking, no cooking, the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that.